I'm going to walk through the Mavic 4 Pro the way most of us approach a big purchase. We're not looking for hype, we're looking for real-world value. If you're still on the fence about whether a high-end drone is worth the price tag, this review will help you see where the pros and cons actually land in everyday shooting. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question people have is whether this machine is a step up from the older Mavic series enough to justify the extra cost. The answer really depends on three things: how you plan to use the footage, how much time you can spend learning the controls, and whether the extra storage and battery life actually solve problems you've run into before. If you've spent a weekend chasing sunrise shots only to run out of battery, or you've struggled to get clean footage in dim light, the Mavic 4 Pro's specs start to feel relevant. If you just need a simple hobby drone for casual flybys, the older models still hit the sweet spot. Let's start with ease of use. DJI has refined the controller interface over several generations, and the RC Pro 2 that ships with this combo feels more like a compact remote than a tangle of sticks. The menu hierarchy is shallow. You get a single screen that shows flight telemetry, camera settings, and a live histogram. There's no deep dive submenu that forces you to scroll for a basic ISO change. In practice, that means you can pull out the drone, power it up, and start framing a shot in under 2 minutes. For a creator who needs to move quickly between locations, that reduction in friction is tangible. Autofocus is another area where the new Hasselblad sensor makes a difference. The 100 megapixel sensor is a huge number on paper, but what matters is how reliably it locks onto a subject when you're moving. In my tests, the camera tracked a cyclist riding through a park with a confidence that felt more like a DSLR than a drone. The focus never hesitated, even when the subject moved from a bright open field into a shaded tree line. That kind of consistency lets you focus on composition instead of hunting for a sharp frame. Low light performance is where the 0.1 lux nightscape vision claim gets put to the test. In a cityscape after sunset, the sensor captured color detail that most drones would throw into noise. The dual telephoto lenses also let you get close-up shots without having to fly too low, which is a safety win when you're dealing with streetlights or traffic. The night mode isn't a magic filter, it's simply a sensor that can gather enough photons to keep the image clean enough for post-production work. Stabilization is handled by the Infinity Gimbal's 360-degree rotation. I tried a rapid pivot from a high-altitude panorama down to a low-altitude follow shot, and the footage stayed buttery smooth. The gimbal's ability to rotate fully without losing lock on the horizon means you can create cinematic reveals that would normally require a separate stabilizer rig. That's a practical advantage for anyone who needs to deliver polished video on a deadline. Battery confidence is often the Achilles heel of any drone. The Mavic 4 Pro advertises a 51-minute flight time, and while that's under ideal conditions, real-world numbers tend to hover around 45 minutes with a moderate payload. What matters is how predictable the battery indicator is. The drone gave me a clear warning when it hit the 10-minute remaining mark, and the landing was still stable. For a day of shooting multiple locations, the extra 10 minutes compared to earlier models translates into fewer swaps and more footage per charge. Transmission distance is boosted by the O4 Plus system, promising up to 30 kilometers of video link. In practice, you'll never need that much in a typical shoot, but the strength of the signal shows up in the absence of dropped frames when you're flying in a congested urban area with many Wi-Fi networks. The video feed stayed crisp and latency stayed low, which is crucial when you're trying to frame a moving subject from the controller screen. Now, who should actually buy this combo? If you're a professional creator, think commercial videographers, real estate marketers, or documentary filmmakers who needs the highest resolution stills, reliable low-light capture, and the flexibility of dual telephoto lenses, the Mavic 4 Pro is a tool that can replace a separate camera rig. The 512GB storage module means you won't be juggling microSD cards every hour, and the extra battery capacity lets you stay in the air for longer shoots. For these users, the price point becomes an investment in workflow efficiency. On the other hand, hobbyists who primarily fly for fun, or beginners who are just learning to pilot, might find the feature set more than they need. The learning curve around managing the 100MP sensor, adjusting raw capture settings, and using the advanced Active Track 360 can feel overwhelming if you haven't already mastered a simpler drone. In those cases, a lower-priced Mavic model or even a different brand with a more stripped-down interface could deliver more enjoyment per dollar spent. Practical.